nonsense to feed with the reels unwind. Off the real podcast, digging deep in the grind. 80 flicks, low cash, big dreams in the frame. No blockbuster hype, just the realest in the game. Review so sharp, we cut through the noise. Breaking down the shots with the cinematic toys.
Every now and then, I will get an email from Phil Wheat, the man behind nerdly.co.uk, the man who brought me on board and the man who asked me to do all of this. And I'll get these emails that contain a movie or contain a filmmaker asking us to check out their movie. And he goes, that's a Kevin movie. That is a Kevin Halden movie. He's going to want to watch this and he's going to absolutely eat it up and he's going to love it or hate it, whichever one it is, but he will definitely watch it and definitely review it. But most of all, he will be fair. Now, you know that I love to watch the big budgets, the low budgets, and the no budgets. I am a sucker for an independent, low budget movie. It's where my heart lives, it's where my heart lies. And as I always say to myself, if I can get one person to watch this movie, whether they love it or hate it, hopefully they will love it. But if I can get one person's eyeballs onto this movie, then my job is done. This movie is called Diamond Dogs. Diamond Dogs is definitely a lower budget movie. I really bought into this movie from the trailer. They sent the trailer over and it was just like this sort of old boys doing a diamond heist kind of thing. And it kind of just got me thinking, yeah, I'm going to watch this because I want to see what these guys have done. If they've poured their heart and soul into writing this movie, making this movie, and getting this movie out there, then damn it, I'm going to pour my heart and soul into watching it. And watch it I did. What I will start with is the IMDb synopsis. That's what I've been doing as of late because it does do what it says on the tin. And then I'll get a little bit deeper into what the actual plot is and a little bit more on that with as few spoilers as humanly possible. So the synopsis says, a seasoned jewel thief partners with a reclusive ex-criminal strategist to assemble a crew of skilled operatives for an intricate diamond heist. Now, how intricate this is going to be for a low-budget Brit flick, I don't know. Let's talk about it. And at the start of the movie, we meet Paul Canterbury. Paul Canterbury has been sent a text message, meet me here and meet me now and let's talk. We need to talk about something. And when he gets there, he meets Rick. Rick is an old friend of his who's now a bit of a recluse, but he's also the guy who kind of gets the jobs, put the jobs together. And it turns out that Rick has got this like diamond, this solitary diamond, and it's one diamond of many that has come from this influencer who has lost it down the back of a couch or something like that. And then this guy's found it, and then he's got Rick to get the band back together so that they can go and steal the rest of these diamonds from a safe deposit box. They now have to get the team together, and that's going to be the first half of this movie, really, is them talking about how they're going to do the job. It's them talking about who they need to help them for the job. Guys like Bite Size, guys like Troy, and Colin Bellend, which was one of my favourite names in this whole movie. He's not actually called Colin Bellend, he's called Colin Bell, but Bellend is really funny, so I had to mention that. And what I will say is, like, this movie is extremely happy with the script that it's written. It does kind of pilfer from all sorts of Guy Ritchie movies, things like that, and it does have some of the best lines from those kind of movies, but reworked into their own little thing. Like, think Lock, Stock, think Snatch, think The Gentleman. They're doing all of that, and they're trying to get the best dialogue out there. There's a lot of Reservoir Dogs stuff. Like I say, they give themselves nicknames. There's a lot of sitting around the table and kind of talking about everyday things, which I really enjoy in movies, but this movie does do a lot, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And obviously, this being a movie about a heist, it kind of has to go wrong in some sort of little way, and then that is like the last third of the movie is things have kind of got a little bit wrong, and now they need to like survive, get out there, but also figure out who's done what to them and get their own back kind of thing. What I will say up front before I get anywhere near my review is there's not a lot that this movie does wrong, which is a brilliant thing to see because, again, it's low budget and it's British and they've clearly got in and they've got enough passion to make this movie and it doesn't do a lot of things wrong. Is it the best film you're ever going to watch? Not really. But there's enough in there to keep you entertained. So let's talk about the cast. Paul Canterbury being Nick Elliott, who is brilliant. Like, he plays sort of this aging criminal who's just come out of jail sort of thing. Plays it really well, really believable. And then when he meets up with his friend or his old friend, Rick Foster, played by Andy Blythe, yeah, you really get a sense that there's a camaraderie here. They have inside jokes with each other, these thumb war things that they do. Really cool, this chugging competition. They kind of know what each other are thinking and could finish each other's sentences if they wanted to. I liked the banter between the two of them, and that's where this movie really works. Like, the dialogue is very good, and the banter is very good. There's maybe a little bit too much of it, and we'll talk about that again in a little bit, but honestly, I really dug what these two guys were doing, and I believe that they thought they were the shit. I believe that they thought any score could be their last score, and it's going to be their biggest score, and they are amazing, and no matter who puts what in front of them, they will manage to accomplish it. They've clearly had a long storied history, which really works as well. Rick keeps this binder of people who have like messed him over in the past, and he's kind of telling little stories about some of these different people. I love this aspect of the movie, the fact that somebody's been keeping basically a revenge book in that. And you could tell that not only has he gone through all this, but Paul Canterbury, the character of Paul Canterbury, played by Nick Elliott, has also gone through a lot of these things. So there's like a camaraderie there. And it means that when they bring the team together, the team can really vibe and can really like be brought in by these two guys who are basically going to run the show. I liked it. It all kind of worked. But within that, you're going to need your tech guy, you're going to need your getaway driver, you're going to need your distraction. So we have got Bite Size, played by Steve Knight, who is kind of a little bit of the comedy in the movie. You have Mark Wells, who's playing Colin Bell, the aforementioned Colin Bellend. He's also a bit of the comedy in the movie. These two guys play off each other really well, and they play with our two main characters really well as well. Leonardo Martin as Troy Armstrong, who's kind of like the younger, more youthful guy in the group, who's sort of like a bit more hot shit and sort of like, what am I doing working with these guys? But actually, I could learn a lot from these guys. And then you get Anja Kick, who plays Adriana Da Silva, who's kind of like the honeypot. She's going to be the big distraction when they need it. The whole team, the whole crew, I don't have anything bad to say about any of these characters. They all play it really well. I found them quite believable. Maybe the weak link of the team might be Anja Kick. I just thought her motivations for the movie weren't exactly very well explained. We know sort of why she's there and sort of why she's doing this, but at the same time, it's a bit of a stretch. So that is your cast, but I do also want to talk about director Kris Smith and writer Joseph Betts. Kris Smith also wrote this with Joseph Betts. I think they've written a really cool story here, but it's easy to see where a lot of the influences are coming from. You know, like your Ocean's 11 movies, your Snatch, your Lock, Stock, as I mentioned before. It is kind of taken a lot from a lot of British movies or a lot of heist movies as well. There are certain scenes where the score is kind of very reminiscent of Ocean's 11. Like people walking down a corridor and they're doing this thing where they're telling you parts of the story, showing you other parts of the story, and you have this really cool soundtrack over the top. I will say the score is really cool. Actually, let's just get into what I did and didn't like right now. Because yes, I did like the plot, I did like the story, and I did like the dialogue. But I didn't like how long some of these conversations were taking. Because we could have cut a lot of that first hour out. The conversations going on too long. Make them sharper, make them snappier, make them quippier, quicker. Just get through those scenes. And I know we're world building and everything like that. But sometimes just because it sounds good and you think it's cool and you're enjoying yourself on set, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be fully invested in that scene when I get to watch it on the screen. And I think that's where some of the character building, some of the world building for some of the other cast members kind of falls apart. Like I say with Anja Kick, you maybe could have spent a bit more time giving us some more of that. Bite Size was a character that I really liked. I would have loved a little bit more of that. So we're talking about the heist, and then we get into the heist, and there's this whole bit in between where clearly Troy's been working at this place and Adriana's been working at this place sort of undercover or as the inside men, and we don't get any of that. So then when a security guard comes along and it sounds like he's known him for a good few months, we don't feel that connection. We don't feel that they are that ingrained in this world. So you could have maybe like sacrificed a little bit over here and gave us a little bit of this here. And I guess that was one of my main complaints, is that I think a lot of the scenes, or quite a few of the scenes in this movie, could have just been cut a little bit more. Just make them a little bit tighter, tighten up them screws, and then we've got a really cool script that I can really vibe with. I did get that, and I did enjoy it, but I think I would have enjoyed it a little bit more had this movie been maybe 90 minutes. I don't think it necessarily needs to be the full 2 hours. But in saying that, In terms of cinematography, camera work, editing, I think everything's pretty sharp. I think the cinematography on this thing is really... At no point did I really feel like I was watching a really low-budget British movie. I knew I was, and some of that shows in the acting in terms of dialogue going on too long and not really knowing when to cut the camera. But at no point did I really feel like, dude, this is like, I bought this on DVD for like £3. I think this is a solid ass movie. I think Kris Smith as the director has done a cracking job. He's used people in the right places. He's clearly got a good team behind the camera. He's clearly got a good team in front of the camera. And they've made a little bit of magic. Best film you're ever going to watch in your life? Not really. But they've made some magic and it's well worth your watch. I think they really have. So I'm going to get into my final Nerdly Presents Off the Reel review rating. And honestly, I'm going to give this movie a 3.5 out of 5. I think I could have easily went that little bit higher and gave them the benefit of the doubt. But for me, sometimes less can be more. And in this movie, I feel like a little bit of restraint on the dialogue could have been a little bit better. Cut quicker in certain places. Cut the dialogue, cut the conversation just that little bit quicker. There's a lot of puns in this movie. I love a pun. I absolutely love a pun. But there's maybe one too many in this movie, and they're maybe coming at you all at the same time. There was one scene though, one particular scene that I genuinely loved, and it's when one of the guys is bringing out the biscuits. They've made all the cups of tea in it. This is what I mean about everyday conversations spilling into the movie that make this movie feel a lot more relatable, a lot more you can just get into it. Believable characters, because they're making the cups of tea to talk about the heist and talk about what they're going to do. And he's like, oh, I've got the biscuits, and he starts bringing the biscuits out. And at first I thought, really, you can't even read a line of dialogue? This is like, that was my instant thought, because he says, I've got the jammy dodgems and I've got the gaffer cakes, and I'm like, really? But then you obviously realise that they're budget biscuits, probably from Lidl, maybe from Aldi. And one of the characters says, where are you going with all the budget biscuits? I'll just have a digestive. I really did love that scene because it hammered home just how British this movie is, just how low budget this movie is, and just how much fun everybody was having on set. And don't get me wrong, everybody seems like they're having good fun on this set. This is definitely a passion project, and that's one of the main reasons I would say you have to check this movie out. You've got to give it a watch, because I do think Kris Smith has brought together a blinding team and made a really cool film. All the gangsters feel like they're trying to be gangsters, and I love that about the gangsters in this movie. So please do check out Diamond Dogs. I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5. I genuinely think you'll have fun with it if you just let it ride and maybe turn your brain off a little bit. It's just a good time, good British gangsters, good British humour, and a well-made British movie. Kris Smith, I think you've done a fantastic job. I think you and your team need to pat yourselves on the back. I really enjoyed watching this. It was good fun. Maybe a little bit too long, and I've explained that already, and I've given you my reasons for that. If you wanted to go back and tighten it up a little bit, I don't know where you would do that. It's your movie. Let people see it. I think they'll enjoy it. And for me, it was a 3.5 out of 5. Please do all those wonderful, amazing things and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ding that notification bell. If you don't want to do any of that, the least you can do is tell somebody about what we do here at Nerdly UK on the YouTube. Or you can go over to the website, nerdly.co.uk, and check out all the reviews we have over there. We've got tons and tons of reviews over there. Phil, my boy, I mentioned him at the start of the review. He's doing some great stuff over there. It's becoming quite the little place to come and read your reviews. So please do all of that good stuff. Hit me in the comments down below if you get a chance to see Diamond Dogs. Let me know what you thought of the movie. If you think I'm completely wrong, if you think I'm giving it too high of a rating, too low of a rating, we will continue the conversation down below. But just remember, behind every movie, especially at this level, there is a passionate as hell team that are going out of their way to make something they love, something they want to pour their heart and souls into, and that's what you have here. You have a passion project with a passionate team, and Nick, Elliott and Andy Blithe in the leading roles are just tremendous. You know and you feel every inch of what they are saying and putting into this movie. So please do check out Diamond Dogs. If I don't see you in the cinema, I'll see you in the next review.